Welcome to the Bookers Alliance podcast, where we hold the pencil and the pencil is power. Coming at you right now is your host, Marky Mark, along with the man, the myth, the legend, Frank Donaldson. Join us as we discuss the ever-changing landscape of professional wrestling. So hang on tight, you jabronis, and enjoy the ride. Welcome in, everybody. Thank you for joining today's episode of the Bookers Alliance podcast. Come on in, grab yourself a ringside seat, pull yourself up, get you some popcorn, get your sodas, get your whiskey, get everything, because what time is it?
You know what time it is. Podcast time.
Podcast time. Yeah, we got an interesting topic today. What time is it? We're going to be talking about Netflix and this whole move that's going on between, Raw and where this may take place around the world. Interesting. Very interesting.
Yuck. It's not. We hate this already. We hate this before it even starts, but we'll get into it as we go. What else is going on in wrestling?
All right. So before we get kicked off, we got to talk about today's sponsor. We got to talk about Four Roses Bourbon.
Okay.
One of the best bourbons that has been around for a long time. Usually your nice, generic Kentucky bourbon.
All right.
Really good tasting, really good whiskey. So cheers to it, sir. Four Roses. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Definitely that old whiskey flavor.
That barrel flavor.
Yeah.
Barrel forward.
Yeah, that's the old school there. That's a throwback indeed.
That's your typically, you might find that as a well whiskey somewhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a pretty basic taste of it. When you think whiskey, that's kind of what I normally think of.
Yeah, you get that caramel, molasses, brown sugar, but then you get that oak, and it just kind of barrel.
We've been around the horn a while now, so it's hard to come back to the old fashioned. It's like, ooh, damn, I forgot about this taste now.
All right, so before we get to our main topic, we got to talk about Saturday night's main event.
All right.
So first things first. As far
Christmas
as
present from WWE to get to us.
So as far as them doing a Saturday night's main event, it's been a long time since I recall where they did one of these. I mean, they've done certain things on NBC, like Tribute to the Troops and stuff like that. But it's been probably 20 plus years since I remember.
It's been a while. I know they did them during the Cena era somewhere. And it was a staple of the 80s. If you were a fan in the 80s, you knew Saturday Night's main event because they would preempt Saturday Night Live, which I was pretty much too young to watch then. But it felt weird to be up, 10:30, 11 o'clock on a Saturday night as a youngin'. Watching wrestling, it was exciting. It was fresh. It was like, oh my God, this is special wrestling because this don't normally happen. Then it went away. In the early 90s, I think it just kind of faded away. Then they brought it back, in different times here and there. But it kind of looks like this may be a return that we're going to be able to get used to here.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping though. Like, okay, this is the first one in a long time. You're keeping the nostalgia feeling. You're using the old graphics.
I love
using the old music.
Using the old Jesse Ventura. Good Lord. They dug him up to come do this thing.
Commentary.
Hell yeah.
So
you start going that deep in the well, you're really going to give me, they're going to make you feel your childhood one good time.
So I'm digging it. I suspect they're going to keep the retro vibe around for this one and probably the one coming up in January. But here's what I hope. I hope that they continue the moniker on, like peppered in throughout, the year, wherever. But I do hope that it doesn't just become nostalgia like all the time. Like, so when they do the retro Raws, okay, those are cool once a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Once a year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
I don't need that like 6 times a year.
Yeah, no, I was going to say if they're only going to run Saturday Night's main event maybe 2 times a year, maybe even 3.
Yeah.
If it goes retro then, a throwback then, as long as there's a purpose behind it, I could get behind that. It won't be bad on me to see the light colored ring skirt and the red, white, and blue ropes.
That's what I'm hoping. Give me the red, white, and blue ropes.
That's what I'm hoping we get the full throwback to like 1988.
I even want to get I even want to see like the bright white can lights.
Yep, that's what I mean. I hope the whole. I hope the entryway is basic. And if they in '88,
if they ever do a cage match, it needs to be the old blue.
Oh yeah, you got it. So I think Big Blue has been painted black and possibly red. I don't even know if they can get that thing back to blue, but I would love to see it just one time, just for nostalgia's sake.
Yeah,
but like you said, if we're gonna do it, do that. Give me that once a year.
Yeah.
One time a year, I would love to see it. But I don't want to see it every other month.
I don't want to see Saturday Night Main Event and Retro Raw either.
So
give me one retro show every now and then. Pick which flavor.
Honestly, I think Retro Raw is only going to be on anniversaries now. It's going to be like on your 30th anniversary. They just passed 30 last year and things like that, or the 500th show. Hopefully, we only ever get Retro Raw for those because I mean, that's 30-something years. That's too far back to just go back for no reason.
Now, what I would
you gotta give me a reason for it.
What I would be in for, though, is giving me the retro SmackDown with the fist. I want to see that one more time. One more time.
I don't know if SmackDown's ever going to get that kind of treatment. I mean, they may have when they were on Fox. I'm surprised they didn't do a retro SmackDown on Fox, but I don't know if they'll ever get that treatment because you got to remember that fist was before like HD and all that.
Yeah,
I don't know how that would come across on today's TV screens. I don't think it would be as impactful as we want it to be.
I remember seeing it in person.
Yeah.
And it looked rough.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. Back then, though, you didn't know any better, because everything was kind of covered by the shade of basic TV. But now in HD, I'm like, that might be, that might take some refinishing, and I don't know if they want to get into all that.
Yeah, but, if you're going to dust the fist off, you got to dust off Jeff Hardy because he's got to come back in Swanton at least once.
Well, there you go. There. I mean, have that. You got to have The Rock for that show because that's
right.
Rock's
That's his show.
And there's a lot that would have to go on to put an old school SmackDown on, and I don't think we've ever done it before, so I don't think they have an inkling to do it for that.
Let's talk about the card for Saturday night's main event. Let's start off with Io and Liv. Io won this kind of number one contendership, I guess is what you want to call it in the match. But her versus Liv kind of feels out of place for me. I mean,
Io's wrestled everybody else.
It's an opponent.
Yeah.
I don't think Liv's going to lose.
No, and that's why I think it's just an opponent. I mean, Io's going to fill the slot that somebody was going to have to fill to take this loss. But
I will say, though, that if Liv hits Io with another DDT like she hit her with Monday night, Io might die.
Yeah.
She planted that girl.
Yeah, I mean, they're taking these moves and they're taking them a certain way. So I guess
Io's whole body froze up. It was laid there on the mat. She didn't move.
Yeah, it looked a little too realistic, right? It looked a little more dangerous than we expected it to get.
She looked stiff as a board.
Yeah, now that could be just great selling, or that could be a little slip of a little slip in the move, but whatever it was, okay. But
there was an interesting turn of events, though, that happened at the end of Monday Night Raw with Liv and Rhea and Io and Raquel. They had to kind of Rhea and Io kind of had to fight back and get their place back in the ring there, but they kind of both wound up holding the belt at the same time.
Yeah,
and okay, I look, Io Sky, that girl can go. I'm good with that. Rhea, she's more powerhouse, and we know a mixed match of styles makes for a great match.
Yeah. So
could it be something cool? Absolutely.
Right, but it's the champion right now.
Wandering into the whole AEW stuff. Where's the story behind that? Like, what is
in Liv the champ right now?
Right. So what does Io and Rhea got to do with anything?
So them because both of them want the title. That's not enough story for me to say. Okay, let's take the title off of Liv and put it on one of them, and B, I'm so interested to see where they go from here because, they both want the title. Hell, all the women should want the title.
Right.
I mean, everybody in wrestling should want the title at some stage. Raquel should want the title, even though she's Liv's best friend.
Yep.
Much like Tiffany Stratton over on SmackDown. She should still want the title. So two women wanting the title, that does not make a storyline for me. That's not even that's what they did on Monday isn't even an inkling of a story. That's okay, the belt's there, two people who are in contention for it grabbed it.
And maybe they were just trying to let us know that they both have aspirations for the belt. And that's fine.
It could be. I mean, we can't start faulting them yet because they do give us long-term storytelling. So maybe 8 months down the road they'll play off of this. Maybe we'll never see those two interact with that title again.
That's possible.
And 8 months down the road, or going into WrestleMania or possibly next year SummerSlam, we revisit it. Which, okay, if that's what we're doing, In the long term, great. In the short term, don't hodgepodge it, right? Don't just okay. Well, Liv's got to have something to go into after this main event, so we got to put something in place. Don't do that. Just let the natural story take its course, and let us get there the way we should just naturally get there. We don't have to force feed anything.
So let's also talk about another match that kind of conspired together Monday night, and this is the triple threat match for Gunther's belt. Gunther, Damian Priest, and Finn Balor. Kind of figured this was going to turn into a triple threat.
Yeah,
because
last week.
Because obviously Damian has taken the pin twice, so Damian's not going to take the pin.
No, and it's been Finn's fault that Damian took the pin each time.
So you kind of see how this is going to happen. Damian's probably going to lay into Finn, knock Finn out. Gunther's going to come in there and steal it from Damian, knock him out of the way, and then pin Finn. I mean, that's kind of probably how that's going to go.
Yeah, because we definitely don't see Gunther losing the title now.
No.
I mean, so there is a world champion that I could possibly see losing, but it ain't Gunther and it ain't that night.
I think Gunther. We're going to get our Booker's Alliance pencil out.
Okay,
here we go. I think Gunther loses the title at Elimination Chamber. In the chamber. In the chamber.
I don't think that's gonna. So I don't see Gunther losing before WrestleMania, only because he didn't win it at WrestleMania.
I think
so. I see him going at least to WrestleMania with the title.
I think they wound up having to put the title on defense in the Elimination Chamber. Gunther loses it because of some type of a wonky interference, and I believe you see CM Punk come out as the World Heavyweight Champion at Elimination Chamber, which will take us to WrestleMania, where he gets the main event against Seth. That's how I think it's all going to happen, because I don't see Punk. Punk's got a main event, right? He's got a main event somehow.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the deal. Whether it's by this whole secret with Paul Heyman, or whether it's by this or something else, by hook or by crook, he's got to get to the main event at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So
right?
I definitely agree there. I don't see him going in as champion though, because I feel like his crowning moment is to win the title at Mania.
So would it be Seth taking it in the chamber then maybe, and Punk chasing him down at Mania?
I don't see why it has to come off of Gunther to get to this point. I gave you a little insight before over the weekend. I guess I'll give the rest of the listening audience the same, just because those of us who are in the know, it's our opportunity. It's our opportunity to either swerve the crowd or to lean in and let the crowd get a peek behind the curtain. So I guess I'll give them a peek behind the curtain. So my thinking is with the whole draft, or what are we calling this thing?
Superstar shakeup. No, that's the old one.
Yeah, what we do? It's the trade window.
The trade portal.
Yeah, the trade portal. So yeah, we're doing the trade window.
Yeah, they're getting NIL money.
Yeah, we're doing the trade window in WWE because they don't want to say portal. They don't want to be like college. So we're doing the trade window. I think Roman's going to cross over in the trade window to Raw. I think Roman's going to win the Royal Rumble. I think Roman's going to intend to cash in on Gunther at WrestleMania. I think that's when CM Punk calls in his favor, and I think Roman ends up having to give his title shot over to CM Punk through the advice of Paul Heyman, the quote-unquote wise man. I see all that happening. I see that ushering CM Punk right into a title match or a main event at WrestleMania, not having to win the Rumble, not having to...
Could that be then the catalyst for The Rock to come back and just rip Roman a new asshole and say, look, you gave your title shot away. What kind of tribal chief are you?
There you go. So, because I definitely don't see the bloodline storyline carrying itself all the way to WrestleMania. So you got to have it go somewhere else, right?
Yep.
I don't see Cody and Rock having their match this year at WrestleMania, because if we were going to do that, I feel like we should have already started building for it. And that little thing we did after Bad Blood, that wasn't enough, right? Yeah. I think that's for the most part been forgotten about. And I think everybody's like moved on past it. So I think the only way The Rock's going to actually get his WrestleMania moment would be to wrestle Roman. And I think that's where it happens. I think after Roman does that, I think there's a whole thing about, last year, Cody wouldn't give up his shot for me, and now you're giving up your shot for him, and blah, 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 blah. It all works its way out to get Rock and Roman at WrestleMania, which I've been saying for 3 years now, this is what we should have. So I'm not going to die. I'm going to die on that hill. I'm not going to climb off of it. I'm not going to relent. I'm going to keep saying it until we get it. Exactly.
All right. So obviously we're both predicting Gunther's holding on to his title.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. So next match is Sami Zayn versus Drew McIntyre. Again, another one that just kind of feels like out of place, weird.
Yeah.
Drew's come back. Yeah, Drew's come back and he's confessed to attacking Jay. Okay, so you're coming back. You're the badass. You're disgruntled. I get it, but Sammy,
right, out of all the people that you're disgruntled against, I mean, he left with CM Punk, mollywopping that ass. Yeah. And now you come back, and all of a sudden you're gonna jump CM Punk's tag team partners for one night.
Yeah,
that's how you're gonna resolve your problem.
I mean, I think
instead of coming after Punk himself, you're gonna go after guys that Punk had the loosest alliance with in the whole wide world.
It's still connected. It's still connected to the bloodline. I mean, Drew, Seth, KO, the whole thing is we hate bloodline.
Yeah. It all spawns off.
Right, and he attacked Jay. Jay's best friends with Sammy.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. We're connected.
That's why I say, it's the loosest possible way to knit two stories together.
Out of this one, to me, since Drew's coming back, Drew's got to take the win.
Yeah.
Because Sammy's Teflon, he'll be all right.
Yeah, and I mean, this is kind of his role at this point now. Yeah. When guys are coming back,
he's being
guys
fed.
Are easing in.
He's being fed to everybody.
Yeah, right. You go in there with Sammy. Sammy's going to make you look great.
Take care of you.
Yeah, and then by the time it's over, you can get the W. Nobody cares if Sammy takes the loss, and everybody progresses forward into whatever else their story carries on.
So let's get to the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens.
Yep.
What if Cody loses?
So remember I said earlier, there is one world champion that I could see losing at this event.
What if Cody loses?
It's that.
I think it might happen.
And the reason I say that is because of what I said. I don't know. Let's track back to February, right? So long-term listeners, think back to February when I said this would be around the time where Roman Reigns was supposed to lose his title.
Yep.
So he would beat the Hogan record and he would get to... So I don't think they relented off the fact that somebody could lose a title at this particular event. Because, I mean, what better way to make a splash on Saturday night's main event than to flip-flop a title, right?
You're on network TV. The eyes of the world are upon you.
You're probably going to get more viewers than you've gotten on any SmackDown, on any Raw, on any TV happen. For the last 10 years.
I feel like a title change is going to happen one of two ways. Cody's going to drop it, or Tiffy's cashing in on Liv.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Something's bound to happen at this point because, again, WWE realizes they're not going to get an audience this big for a long time. Primetime Saturday night on NBC is pretty much the hottest real estate going and on television right now. They're not going to get a bigger audience.
Well, we've seen
what
Tiffy.
Way to splash the audience and to try and draw some interest than change a title.
We've seen Tiffy though. We've seen Tiffy on SmackDown, her home brand. We've seen her on NXT. Yeah. We've seen her on Raw, back in the back.
Girl gets around.
She gets around.
Damn.
So backstage politics speaking, I mean, technically Raw is where she should be anyway because, I mean, she's in a real life relationship with Ludwig Kaiser. So technically she should be on Raw.
Yeah.
So is this their way of getting her there by letting her cash in on Liv? I mean, that's a possibility.
I mean, with the transfer portal out there, the transfer window out there,
she'd be the first one.
Exactly. She could flip flop, and we know it's happening because we already know that Melo's wrestling somebody tonight. Matter of fact, as people are listening, I think Melo's wrestling the first transfer over from Raw to SmackDown. So we know it's live. We know it's happening. We're of course foreshadowing to Saturday. Hey, why doesn't she flip over in the transfer portal? Take a title in it. Why not? But what about Cody though?
That's what I was going to go back to. Look, as a Cody fan, Cody crybaby, I don't want to see him lose. I'm a hardcore Cody fan, but at the same time, this makes sense to take the title of him and let it be KO that kind of comes in and takes it.
They got the best story. So KO's got the best story with Cody for anyone in WWE right now, not named Roman Reigns, right?
Right.
So if anybody could do it, it would be him. But I mean, we talked about this before. We did a show on it. We had a reluctant show on it. But this title reign of Cody's has not been of note, right?
No.
It's not noteworthy at this stage. There's nothing that's happened in this title reign that made the company turn over. Yeah, he sold a lot of merch, but I mean, a lot of guys sell merch.
But it comes back to the fact that the Bloodline story just overshadows everything.
It does, and there's no point in trying to argue that it doesn't.
You can't deny it. You can't unsee it. And then, I've stated in the past, until Cody breaks out of the shadow of this whole Bloodline thing, which he can't right now because there's too much unfinished business.
Yeah. And Roman's still on the brand.
Right. And there's a Cody Rock match that's got to happen somewhere down the road. There's Cody Roman 3 that's got to happen somewhere down the road. So he can't break out of the shadow of it.
No, but he could start with them being on separate shows.
Absolutely.
Right. So while Roman was gone for those 6 months after Mania or whatnot, I mean, he was the face of the company by far. He was by far and away the guy that you associated with WWE because there was no Roman there. The problem is the day Roman came back, he ended up in that back seat again, and it's like, well, damn, you don't want your main title holder in the back seat, to anybody. But unfortunately, that's the way it is.
I really think though the ultimate opponent for Cody is Gunther, because Gunther has a way of being the diabolical, relentless heel, and Cody has a way of being the sympathetic babyface. So to me, Cody's ultimate opponent is Gunther. They can't get together. They're both holding the same belt.
We've seen it already.
And we've seen it already. But we've seen it, but we've not seen it for the right reasons.
You're right. We saw it as a one-off.
Right.
We knew going into it, it was a one-off.
And they played it up in the Rumble, where Cody eliminated Gunther.
Yeah.
So they've played it up there. They've played it.
They did that in 2 Rumbles. They did that in the Rumble in the first Rumble that Cody won too. Those two had a face off.
So and the other diabolical heel that could come up against Cody is also on the Raw brand. True. I mean, he's the other diabolical heel.
True. But somewhere out there, you got a Randy Orton waiting.
And that's the wild card, because Randy is off TV, not to be seen.
And remember how he got off TV, right? It was a KO thing. So it was still something that was intertwined in the story where it's going. So do we possibly see Randy come back this weekend? Do we see Randy cost KO the title? Do we see Randy win the title for KO?
Do we see Randy turn on Cody and help KO?
Right. What if he helps KO win the title?
That would be, I just got goosebumps. That would be the ultimate story.
There's so many different possibilities, but like you said, at the end of the day, it all comes back to the bloodline, which all comes back to Roman.
Yep.
As long as Roman's out there wrestling, if you're on the card with him, you're the B guy, right? You're the follow-up. You're not the main event. And if you're going to make Cody that guy, you got to get those two apart. I've been saying it since the day Roman came back.
You're right.
Until you get these two guys apart, you're going to have this problem. They tried to figure a way to work it out with the tag match, which it was okay. They had the the cinematic interactions and all. But even they had to acknowledge in there that as long as we're standing in each other's way, neither one of us can progress.
And I will say this. Cody Roman might be my favorite feud that I've ever seen in the WWE. They might be my favorite
that
feud.
Far, just because they don't have any other stories short of they're going after the title. If they had dislike from each other or for each other from 20 years ago and they were able to bring it back, then I could say
I think their feud is still unfolding. I think there's still more between Cody and Roman. It could be 20 years from now and this thing could still be going.
It definitely could.
But I also think that you're on the money. You've got to separate Roman and Cody.
Yeah, they got to get away from
And to me, it doesn't matter which one goes to where.
No, it really doesn't. I just don't see, and I think I said this last week, but I'll bring it up again. I don't see Netflix having paid that much money to not get the hottest thing in wrestling right now. I feel like for the amount that they paid, considering, now don't get me wrong, USA paid for SmackDown, but they didn't pay what Netflix paid for Raw, right?
No, and I mean ultimately the end goal is everything's going to be on Netflix.
Yeah. But we just signed USA to.
They've got until 26.
SmackDown.
They're up in 26.
Who, SmackDown?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I didn't know that because considering they just signed from
the end of
Fox,
the end of 26.
A little bit longer. But I mean, is Netflix willing to wait that long? So
no, not to get Roman.
That's what I mean. For the amount of money that they paid, they're not going to just say, well, okay, we'll take him for PLEs and 26 and things like that. No, they're going to want him on their show primarily, right? And if you're going to want him primarily on there, you got to make that switch.
So I'm going with the steadfast opinion. Randy Orton comes back, helps KO win the title. That's what I even as a Cody fan, I like it.
so bet odds are telling me in the back of my head right now, I'm like, I ain't putting no money on this.
No.
Because
don't bet the house.
No, this is turning more into more of a want than it is it's going to happen. But I'm
starting to look at Cody like I look at LA Knight. He's better chasing.
Yeah.
You
got to pay it off, right? At some point, you always got to give it to you. Fans are going to get
John
sick
paid it off 16 times.
And that's the thing. Fans get sick of you chasing forever, right?
Yep.
If you're never going to win, they just give up on you. So you got to pay it off. But when you pay it off and then it's not giving the dividends that you're wanting, hey, you got to mix it up again, right?
Yep.
So you change it around a few times. I mean, since WrestleMania, Cody's the only champion that's still standing strong with his title since WrestleMania night, right? It's time.
Yeah, it's time. Speaking of that, though, what time is it?
Exactly. It ain't game time, that's for sure.
So, listen, we got to talk about Netflix. We got to talk about a little bit of news that came out. So, apparently, whenever Monday Night Raw is taking place somewhere else in the world, or hell, on the other coast, for that matter.
Ugh.
So, apparently, that they're going to air Raw at the time that it's supposed to go live. So, in other words, if they're in Lyon, France for Monday Night Raw, we could be watching Monday Night Raw at noon on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in Australia, we could be watching Monday Night Raw at 5 a.m. on a Monday.
Yuck.
So, if they do, though, the West Coast, I do feel like they won't wait until 8 p.m. that time. They'll at least start it at 5 p.m. That way it's 8 p.m. on the regular coast, on the East Coast. I feel like that's
absolutely. Yep. They're definitely not going to make.
But let's
the East Coast audience wait till 11 p.m. I mean,
but let's get into this because me and you've got some differing opinions on this.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I figured it'd be a good topic to talk about because I don't love it. I don't love it.
Frank is not a fan.
No, so I mean, I'll be honest. The one thing that I think about when I think about my wrestling is consistency, right? I know every Monday there's going to be wrestling at 8 o'clock. It gives you something to look forward to after a long ass Monday, right? You went to work, you came off the weekend, you struggled through a whole day of work, and you're like, God, Lord, I just want to get through the day. Well, at least knowing at 8 o'clock, hey, there's wrestling here. That'll make the night end on a high note from a crap day. That gives me something to look forward to. Now, if you tell me, well, it's coming on during my crap day, I'm like, well, wait a minute. I don't want to associate my relaxing time or, what I watch to wind down with my actual work day. I don't want those two to touch. I want them to stay separate. I want them to stay away from each other. But now, much like the PLEs have turned into whatever time it's showing live for that particular sect of fans, we're going to be watching it on TV. I don't love it. So
that's Frank's opinion. My opinion is I'm down with it. I'm cool with it. And I'm cool with it because some selfish reasons, but also I've been preaching and I can't not practice what I preach. I've been preaching WWE's whole end goal into this is to take this thing worldwide and be a global product, which they are. They are considered a global product. But I think so long, though, they have, and I know where you're going to come from when I say this, but so long they've catered to the U.S. that them not opening themselves up to new ideas has kind of shut them out of other markets. So to me,
shut them out, but it's not like they're losing any money.
No. But when they take these events overseas and they do things and we wind up watching a PLE at noon on a Saturday.
I hate that. That's the worst.
I'm cool with it. But to me, I think for me, I am, and I don't know if it's because I cut the cable early on. I don't know what it is, but I'm more accustomed to the streaming stuff and just like, you just watch it when it's available.
Right. So, I think that's just more because you arbitrarily stream. Like you'll watch random stuff on stream like whenever, right?
Yep.
Which I think we all do. I do too. Nothing better than on a rainy Saturday than to pick up Netflix and just find something that you've been waiting to watch for, I don't know, 6 months or you forgot about or something. And you're like, oh my God, that's there. Let me watch it here. That's great and all that. But I also like structure. I'm definitely a structure, right? So
You that old head that likes to see that 8 p.m. time slot in the TV guys say Monday Night Raw.
Essentially, yeah. I don't, when it's like football, right? When football comes on at 9 o'clock in the morning, when they're over in England.
And see, I love that.
You see, I hate that because I'm usually asleep through most of it.
Hell, what's better?
Busy.
What's more great than waking up on a Sunday morning, going downstairs in your jammies, getting a big old bowl of cereal instead of watching Saturday morning cartoons? You watching NFL football.
You do all that watching the morning, watching the Sunday, watching NFL Countdown or whatever the case may be. But
give me football, give me now.
Yeah. So okay, we can go along with that, but here's what I challenge. So them 9 o'clock games, they all suck. It's like Thursday football. Thursday football for 90% of it all sucks.
I don't disagree with you there.
And this is what's going to happen if you take a bunch of American-based performers and have them do a pay-per-view at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. It's going to suck because they're not going to be accustomed to it. They're going to be thinking it's 11 o'clock in the morning. So why am I out here banging my body around?
So are the performers catering to the people at home, or are the performers catering to the people in the arena?
So the company caters to the people at home because that's where the majority of
But the performers, you based your idea right there on the performers. So
because
let's keep it in the vein of the performers, though.
Well, so I mean that goes.
So if the crowd's hot, the performers are going to be hot. That's my point.
So how many of them crown jewels in the very beginning where I mean they were chanting stuff that we didn't even know what they were chanting.
That's because nobody really wanted to be there the first go around.
That's my point.
Yeah,
and that's what I'm getting at.
But
nobody wants to be in a wrestling ring at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
There's a difference. Somebody being in Lyon, France versus somebody being in North Korea. I wouldn't want to be in North Korea.
So the idea is right, but so you work. Do you want to do, if your job told you, you know what, we're going to start bringing you in 11 a.m. on Saturday, are you going to be like, oh, great?
Well, see I'm not a fair comparison to that, sir, because I'm the mentality of cowboy up, suck it up, buttercup.
Well, yeah, but I mean, right.
That's me.
That's today, though. If they tell you they're going to do it for the next 6 weeks and give you no good reason for it, are you good with it?
I'm going to piss, moan, and groan, but I'll still do it.
Exactly. But you're not going to do it to the best of your, but you're not going to be, you're not going to be as.
I'll half-ass it.
That's my point. That's what I'm saying. This is what the wrestlers are going to do at 11 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday when they're out there doing a pay-per-view.
So let me bring in this other thought stream.
Okay.
Because I've kind of been thinking about something, and I didn't want to text it to you or say it prematurely because I really wanted to catch you and get your honest thoughts off it, like right off the cuff. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the conversation that we're having right now compares to another thing. So think about, like, everybody saw season 1 of a TV show, right?
Yeah.
Season 1 was hot.
Yeah.
Fire, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody's waiting with bated breath on season 2, right? Mm-hmm. You've got 50% of the fans from that show that want all episodes of season 2 released at one time.
Yeah.
Then you've got other fans that are used to, hey, I want my every Sunday night. Yeah. Why can't I get episode 1, next week episode 2, the week after episode 3?
Yeah.
Okay. This is streaming.
Yeah.
And a lot of streaming companies have figured out some shows you can release the whole shebang and the fans are happy.
Yeah.
Some shows, you got to spread it out because it's too damn much for somebody. Yeah. You can't watch the whole season of Game of Thrones in a binge session. You'll forget everybody's name, who got killed. Yeah. None of it will make sense. You got to take it, digest it, maybe even watch it again before you watch the next episode, right? Mm-hmm. That is, to me, what streaming has become. Does that analogy make sense for what you see with what could happen to Monday Night Raw? Like, some fans, like me, cool with it. Some fans, like you, I don't want my Monday Night Raw at 11 because then it's not Monday Night Raw, it's Monday Morning Raw.
Yeah, so, no, I definitely understand it. The problem with it is the same problem that the TV shows have. It's spoilers. So
there you go.
Drop a whole season of XYZ favorite TV show in the world, everybody can't watch it at the same time, right? There's just no way. Somebody's gonna end up getting left behind, and then something's gonna get spoiled, and then that person's upset. And I mean, that happens, on a multitude.
Yep.
And the same thing's gonna happen with wrestling. I mean, we know it. If you fall asleep on a Raw, by accident, damn, before you can get a chance to wake up in the morning and watch it, you've already read what happened on Twitter or somewhere else. Well, now you don't really have the inspiration to watch it anymore. What I'm afraid of is going to happen is, and I mean, I get it. It won't happen often. It's not like Raw's always going to be at 3:00 in the afternoon.
They're saying out of the 52 episodes, it may be 6.
Right. So it isn't like it's going to be an every week thing where every week you're like, damn, if I'm not up at midnight, I'm going to, get spoiled. For the most part, it's going to be at the same time. But let's say on those 6, right? If I'm not me and I'm not watching the way that I want to watch, if I just, haphazardly turn on the TV around 8:00 on a Monday and wrestling's on and I start watching it, okay, great. Well, now if it's not there, and and I wasn't that diehard, that dead set on watching it, well, now I'll just go find something else to watch. What's going to stop me from getting interested in, the new season of The Neighborhood's out and then Papa's House comes on out. Well, damn, I've never seen these shows, but I like these shows. Well, what's going to keep me from continuing to only watch those shows and forgetting that I was even, trying to give Raw a chance because that consistency's gone?
So that sounds like a couple things to me.
Okay.
First thing it sounds like to me is, Hunter, got your work cut out for you, sir. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to keep us entertained. So we'll keep coming back to the product.
100%.
Okay. The second thing, us as wrestling fans have to realize when we have a show that airs at 11:00 on a Monday, don't put any spoilers out there until Tuesday.
Well, that ain't going to happen.
I know.
If they put it out there at 11:00, there's going to be spoilers at quarter after.
So you make a valid point, and the spoilers is what kills this.
That's
because
the only reason I have a problem. If it wasn't for spoilers, then I'd actually prefer to watch it on demand because then I could watch it as soon as I get off work and don't have to wait till 8:00.
Right.
I can start watching it at 6.
I can watch it at 6 and watch Monday Night Football.
Exactly. So ideally, like this week, for example, ideally I'd say I could watch Raw, have Raw done before the first snap, and watch football. Ideally, that would be great. But what'll happen is if you don't watch it from 5 to 7 or let's say 6 to 8, let's say you get tied up doing something, you go out with your family for dinner instead of watching TV. Well, while you're out, if you happen to scroll through Facebook, well, now you've ruined all of Raw. Well, now I'm not going to go home and watch any of it because I've read the whole thing.
Name me one person that has missed the Super Bowl live and has gone back to catch a rewatch.
Yeah, there's no way you're watching this. You may watch plays from the Super Bowl, but yeah, no one.
You don't go back and watch the whole game.
No, Monday morning, no one hits play for the first time. Like, all right, let's see how this game's going to work.
You don't even go back for the commercials anymore. They got them melted down on YouTube in a 30-minute video.
Absolutely, like you said, no, and so no one wakes up Monday morning and says, "Let's see what happened on that game last night." The early shifters, they don't wake up a little bit earlier and say, "Let's see what happened." If you didn't watch it, then hell, that means you didn't care.
Right.
If you did care, you sacrificed some sleep and you watched it. That's what I'm afraid of with Raw doing this streaming thing. That's the only thing I'm afraid of.
I think what they're going to do is they're going to try it and they're going to see if it goes bad and they start losing viewers. They'll course correct. They'll do it just like everything else. Netflix is based in the zone. If you use a VPN to watch Netflix and you VPN to Germany, you see a whole nother movie catalog available to you than you would if you were looking at the US, right? So if they have to course correct what I see them doing, anybody who signs into Netflix in the US, Raw won't be available for you to stream until 8:00.
Yeah.
That's how and it won't be live. It'll be a stream.
Yeah.
But still, spoilers on Twitter.
Everyone with a VPN knows to just go watch it somewhere else.
It's going to happen, and that's unfortunate, and it sucks, but it's also the day and age we live in, but it's also a telltale sign of our attention span as a human race these days.
Well, there's definitely that. I mean, we've got the attention span of a gnat at this point.
Because I'm sorry, how many people can go 45 minutes without reaching for your phone to look at something?
Yeah, so luckily I try and charge my phone while I'm watching Monday Night Wrestling or whatnot. I'll put my phone on charge just because occasionally I will start it late. Occasionally I'll start it 30 minutes late just so I can miss some of those commercials and all that. Well, if I accidentally grab my phone in there, then I'm finding myself, because hell, it's not even fans spoiling. WWE is putting clips up there of the previous segment right on their website. And I'm like, well, hell, I haven't seen this segment yet, but now they're showing it to me. So, well, I might as well just watch it on the phone.
Commercials also presents another interesting aspect of this Netflix move. We don't know what that's going to be like yet.
No, we don't
know if you have a different tier, are you going to see commercials? Or are you not?
Yeah, no kidding. I pay for commercial free, so I don't have to get Netflix commercials. So if I have to sit through commercials,
it's going to be. Are they going to do the whole picture-in-picture crap?
I'm sure that'll be a part.
Yeah, so we'll see how this all goes. I am not going to knock anything or any decision they make until we see it happen, and then if it sucks, they're given a chance to course correct, because honestly, they're moving into an uncharted territory.
Yep.
Nobody knows what's going to happen. Nobody's ever done this.
No, Netflix, they ran a test.
Oh, they ran
with that
a test.
Fight a couple weeks ago.
Test?
That failed miserably. So I guess that's also my biggest fear is the minute, and I mean the minute I start wandering into a buffer zone and I see myself only watching
and
the spinning
Michael
circle
Buffer,
of death.
Right?
Exactly. When I'm only seeing the spinning circle of death on Monday Night Raw, that's when they're going to lose me. But hell, I've been streaming TV for 5 or 6 years now, so we don't have a problem with it on YouTube TV. So I don't think Netflix should have the biggest problem in the world.
If YouTube TV has figured out how to stream the Super Bowl without any issues,
exactly,
they should.
Yeah, Netflix should be able to figure this out. Now, I'm going to lean into what they said and that they didn't expect the massive viewership that they got, which I don't know how they didn't, but why not?
You had freaking Mike Tyson coming out and fighting
for free. It wasn't even, anybody who had a Netflix could watch this for free, and everybody who's spamming someone else's Netflix could also watch it for free, which means they think they had 60 million. They probably have 300 million people watching that show. So taking that into account, if going into it, hey, we got to fix that, and they fix it, okay, great.
Yep. So we're moving into uncharted territory. It all kicks off January 6th. Supposedly, this is going to be a Raw that is a not miss, and it is supposed to be a Raw to remember. We'll see how it all shakes out. It's going to be fun. Interesting to see how they navigate these waters. But as always, your boys will be right here covering the action.
Oh, yeah, we'll get you guys through it. So if you buffer all the way through Raw, then you listen to our podcast, and we'll give you a recap.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. We appreciate all that you do. Go out to our social media platforms, drop us a line, and with that, everybody, we bid you adieu.
Like a bridge over troubled water.
Today's podcast was produced by SBP. You can find our podcast on all major podcast platforms. Also, connect with us on our social media accounts. Search for The Bookers Alliance on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X.